So coming into this trip, I was pretty much wide open just for whatever was to happen. I knew that I was supposed to come when Brad and I first were discussing back and forth whether or not that we would go on this trip, because really probably in the last 9 years I haven't gone on too many trips. I've always just sent Brad away to go, and stayed home with the kids, and had just a long list of reasons that I needed to stay back. Not because I didn't want to go, but I just felt like let others go and I would do my part by staying, which has been great. But I think this year something kind of changed in me. When I had my last birthday, I kind of just felt like, you know what, I don't want time to pass by and not let that part of my heart get stirred anymore. So it started in November when I went to Mexico to the Amor build, and that was a great just introduction into just getting myself going and activated and moving, and you know, regardless of what obstacles I had to work out, which they worked out, and thanks to a lot of E3 people and family and friends who have made that happen. But when it came time to discussing this trip, we were really vacillating back and forth because, you know, you have 3 kids, you have a life. 9 days is a long time. You know, the thought of what if something happens, you know, we're both gone, and all of those things that just barrage your mind. So just remember the morning John was asking for final answers from us, and I just looked at Brad, and he looked at me, and he's like, let's just go. I'm like, okay, let's just go. So we signed up to be here, and the details seemed like they were going to work out, and for our kids and all that, and then it seemed like it wasn't going to work out, and then it all came together. So there was a lot of stuff coming into just really leaving and letting go and stepping out to come, because as soon as I signed up, I was like, oh my gosh, what if something happens to us? What's going to happen to my kids? And then all the questions were coming, you know, finances, all this stuff, like, and then I just kept saying, well, we're going, and so we're here, and it's our last day. And I have to say that this has been a really marvelous trip. Marvelous is a word I don't use very often, but not only just you know, just the things that you expect, like you expect to fall in love with children, and you expect to enjoy just loving on kids and the joy that comes from being something in their life that they don't necessarily already have. So that I kind of expected, but it was more than that, more than just faces. Suddenly my heart is connected to these children, and to these volunteer workers, and to the people that are running this amazing facility. Just a connection that can happen in 7 days. It's amazing. And now I feel like my heart will always be in 2 places, which is weird because I didn't expect that to happen. But I just feel like, you know, obviously my heart is at home, and I miss my children, and I can't wait to see them. But my heart is here, and I love these people, and I love this country, and just wanting to hear, you know, instead of like a mass of people, like overwhelmed by the whole state of this nation and the community and everything, instead of that, I find myself like individually touched by the stories of every person I meet and wanting to know their story. So I find myself looking at each child and wondering how they got here, and asking questions, and doing whatever it takes to just discover and know them, and now I'm forever connected to their stories, and wanting to know how does it end, and praying for them, and just watching what God does in their lives. So it's been deeply touching, very changing. My first time in like really taking time in a third world country, and not just traveling to a resort and chilling out. So yeah, it's been great. For anyone that is considering just how they can get activated, and maybe this isn't the place that you're supposed to come to, but it's a fantastic way to open your eyes. And we always talk about eyes wide open, opening your eyes, and there's so many things I could recount, stories, families that we've met along the way, highlights. Probably one of my favorite things was just taking a couple kids on a walk in a wagon outside the walls of this compound, and knowing that most of those kids that we took had been here almost all their lives, and they were, I'm sure they've gotten out before to go on walks, but it was so neat just to see how overwhelmed they were by the world around them, and how like we tried to coax them out of the wagon and they didn't want to get out because that was like their safety zone, but just looking at their wide eyes as they looked at the world around them. And some like Shantae and a couple others jump roping with some local girls in front of their home, what you could call a home anyway. And it was just so cool just to be a part of this community and watching these kids explore. And I don't know, there's just been so many great things and so many heart-wrenching things. Watching a mom who has to give her son up for adoption because she can't care for him come and visit and spend time with him, with his older brothers, and just the look in her eye and wondering what her story is and why, and how hard as a mom that would be to know that you couldn't care for your kids, and but still have to be strong for your other kids, and watch her walk away and just look back and wipe the tears from her eyes. It's just some really big stuff and big stories and lots of things that are going on here. But just feel honored, and thank you guys for being a part of sending us and letting us just come here. And I encourage all of you just to take a step to do it. There's probably a million reasons why you can't, but there's some really good reasons why you should.